whenever I would think about it, it was always like I just wanted to walk into water and just drown. I did suffer from years of self-harm. It's like, and when you're disassociated and feeling that pain and you're self-harming, like you're still not even feeling the pain of like what you're doing to yourself.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors and ideators so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives. We almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough. And when we do talk about it, when we do engage, we're not very good at it. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with survivors, in large part to help more people in more places hopefully feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. You probably know I am on tour. That is why this episode was late this week. I also have some tour updates out. If you want to check them out, they're real short just to keep you abreast of what has been going on. Right now I'm in Chicago and we'll be heading to Kentucky on Monday. Appreciate your support with all of that. The whole entire project, the podcast, the tour, all the other things. I really thank you. If you want to help us out with a tax-deductible donation, you can find the link all over the place. It's givebutter.com/suicide noted. It really would help. It goes a long way. However you are involved, I really appreciate it. Now, if you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. I would absolutely love to speak with you. Finally, we are talking about suicide on this podcast, like the name suggests, like we always do. And my guests and I, we don't hold back. So please take that into account before you listen or as you listen. But I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today, I am talking with Jillian. Jillian lives in Kansas, and she is a suicide attempt survivor. Hey, Jillian, what's going on?
Not too much.
Where do you live, Jillian?
I'm in Kansas.
You're in Kansas and you have tattoos.
Yeah, a lot of them.
You're in a conference room.
Yes.
We don't want to wait too much so people might find you and no one's going to find you. Kansas, tornadoes.
Yes.
Let's not just list off a bunch of things that Yankees like me know about Kansas because that's a different podcast. Oh man, why are we here? What are we doing?
Well, bring awareness and light to people that suffer with ideation or suicide attempts. I wrote to you and told you my dad, he took his life by suicide 12 years ago. And before that, he had 2 attempts. I think because of that, then I had a harder time coming forth whenever I had my own struggles.
So we're talking about suicide ideation and suicide loss.
Yes. I never had an attempt myself or a plan, but it was a lot of suicidal ideation and spiraling like dark thoughts, a lot of battling depression for a long time before I started getting help.
On a scale of 0 to 10, as we talk right now, 0 being like as good as a human being can be. No, actually 10 being as good as a human being can be in this context and 0 being like, I'm planning my own death. Where are you?
I mean, I would say I'm a 7 or an 8. Like, I feel like I've come a long way and I'm still making progress. But there was definitely a lot of trauma that like I ignored. And so just kind of everything kept piling up. I think when you hide it for so long, then it's so scary to finally open up that box and let people see it. I definitely played it off. Like, you picture like those celebrities like Robin Williams or something where they always appear so happy and wanting to make other people feel good. And I would classify myself like that. So whenever I was having a hard time, I never showed that vulnerable side to people. And it was so hard to get there to tell people that, or to even like almost admit that there was a dark side of me. In a sense.
Must be tiring.
So it's exhausting. I think that the emotional and mental toll that takes on you, I mean, it's something like sleep won't help. Like nothing helps that because you just carry it all the time.
Yeah. Man. I've been meeting a lot of, on this podcast, a lot of people who identify as people pleasers. Are you one of them?
Yeah, I would say I definitely am. I would absolutely, and I'm getting better at this now, but typically it'd be let's make other people happy before myself.
Yeah. And there's something to that one could say, no, I like that idea, right? Like it's not about you, but
Then
then
you come to realize if you never take care of yourself, I mean, you're just silently and slowly breaking down to bits, you know? At the end of the day, it's you and yourself and nobody else there. So,
why are you in a conference center right now?
because I have two dogs that, if I was at home, I have two boys and two dogs, and I would have probably been interrupted 100 times. So I went to the library.
Oh, okay. You went to the library, you got a room, so it's kind of quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I got it. And you're in Kansas, which I said 4 times already, so that's been established. Whew, how'd you find the podcast? And then we're going to get into your stuff with your permission.
Okay. I just started as I started deciding that I want to share more of my story and I want to reach more of a community that I feel like there should be support. I just started looking for different podcasts, websites, resources, anything that I could almost help promote too, just so people know it's there. When you're first looking into this, it feels like weird to when you're needing help, like where can I find a suicide podcast? Or it's just so much easier if you're scrolling and then all of a sudden somebody posts it for you. And you're like, maybe I'll save this for, when I'm alone. I find a lot of things on Instagram or social media, instead of people like wanting to like or share it, they quietly save it for when it's just them. So I've just been kind of searching and doing my research of different areas that I think is great to share stories and awareness so that people just don't feel like they're the only ones.
Yeah, for sure. So now I have an idea of how you found the podcast and why you want to talk. And I guess we need to start talking about the stuff. And I know this is always hard because we're trying to sort of scrunch a lifetime into an hour or whatever amount of time we're talking.
So let me ask you this. When do you recall, if you recall, did you first start to think about suicide?
I kept journals since like the 3rd grade, and I would say I was probably about 12 whenever I first started journaling about I'd rather be dead, or starting to like leave notes of if I'm dead, like this goes to my friends and family and that sort of thing. Now he was an addict my whole life, and there was like a lot of trauma and like abuse. My parents were divorced, so whenever I was over there, and I think a lot of that stems for my early ideation, definitely.
I don't do numbers or stats so well, but I would guess I've had about 300 conversations, and certainly more than half there was abuse.
Yeah. And it's, especially as a kid, my mom cared deeply about him. So she never wanted to put him in a bad light because, you love your father no matter what. So therefore, in hindsight, like she didn't intentionally do this. But, then you feel like, oh, like you kind of like push your emotions down because you almost think like you're overreacting on your feelings.
Right.
If everybody else seems like okay, then you should be okay too. I think I just sat with them really deep. It kind of isolated me to where I felt like I wasn't connecting with like other friends my age. My families didn't look the same. I'd be nervous to have them, go over there for the weekend, things like that. So really, I think I just started to feel really alone at a young age.
Yeah, I mean, how many 3rd grader friends do you have talking about wanting to maybe die?
Right.
And also as a 3rd grader, which is about 8 years old, I imagine. I don't know how old you are, but we're not going back that far, but it's still far enough where like, what do you know about suicide? What is your concept of taking one's life?
My mom always talked to us about suicide. I think maybe that was like a fear that for her to have her kids do that. Her way of educating her kids was very different. Not sure if everybody, it was almost like the fear factor. So we're going to just like lay it to you blunt. These things exist. I don't ever want you to do this. But also in a way, I think she was preparing us for if that happened to my dad. If he were to get in an accident and die or overdose or whatever, like he definitely battled some demons. So whereas like I didn't quite understand the context of the action you would take, exactly. Like I wasn't thinking that. It was more of like, I don't want to exist in this anymore.
And does that feeling or some kind of feeling like that go on indefinitely for years and years, or does it sort of subside at some point?
to reference, since it was, so long ago, about a year ago, started doing really in-depth trauma therapy and going back and reading my journals. So I didn't even realize that I started thinking about this that young. So that was like a whole thing I had to process. Like, wow, I've been carrying that. Like, I think I wrote it and then, you move on because that's what you do. Like, you still got to get up the next day and keep going. So I didn't even process that that was such an intense thing then. But yes, I hid it from everybody, but I definitely went on, especially through teenage years into my 20s, feeling isolated and alone. I had a lot of friends, and I do have a lot of friends, but I think just because you have friends doesn't mean you're not feeling alone. I never felt like people truly saw the weight that I was carrying. Like, that's on me because I never allowed myself to be vulnerable enough to let them know that I was carrying that much weight and how heavy that was for me to do by myself.
Oh, fascinating words. That's on me. That's on me. It's like, well, yeah, but there's a reason why you were doing what you were doing. I think it's kind of called survival or something like that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Like, sure. Yes. And the weight you refer to,
yes.
What in as best you can recall and or explain or describe, what was the weight?
I just felt like I didn't have, the normal, if there is a normal family or home life, was constantly comparing myself to everybody around me, people's dads who were like, oh, my dad helped me buy my first car, helped me move into college, or that. Whereas I'm giving my dad's ultimatums. If you're not sober for 30 days, I'm not going to see you. And, he didn't walk me down the aisle. He didn't escort me for homecoming because I didn't know if he was sober at those times, but then he would still come. So it's like trying to hide why those things were appearing, because obviously people are seeing that, and make it still be like it's normal. All anybody talked about was, he's so great. He loves you so much, this and this. And really what that did was make me feel like people can treat me however and hurt me, but they love me, so it's okay. I mean, so in a sense, then it leads into a lot of unstable relationships or even like toxic friendships, which then, I tried to drown myself. I partied a lot to have fun. Like, that was your way to have fun. You're not thinking about it. You're going out with girlfriends, you're drinking, you're doing all this. And I wasn't thinking about being depressed because I was the fun, wild one. And then it all just came really for myself. I battled like these ideations on and off. And I mean, I have 2 boys, and it was through having both kids, through getting married. And about 2.5 years ago, it got so bad that, I truly was so disassociated that I just didn't feel a thing. I felt like I was looking at people and inside being like, please ask me if I'm okay. Like, please just look at me and see that I'm not okay. And I will say yes, like, I need help. But nobody did. So then that kind of added to it of feeling invisible and lonely. I think I would put myself off then by being like so outgoing and crazy. And people had this whole image of what they thought I was. And in reality, I am nothing like that. And so, all these through healing, like now, all like that my actual side is showing. And I've lost a handful of friends and I've whatever. But at the end of the day, I was like the only person that was going to like save me. Like, I had to decide to like wake up and like, I seriously felt like I was like crawling out of a cave to just like keep going at that point.
Never having that sort of like steadiness or consistency with a parent. I believe it's your father primarily. It's got to be such a weird thing. And then that's not the ideal word because it's like, how could it not always be on your mind? Is he going to come? Is he not? Is he going to be drunk? Is he going to be not? Like, of course, it's never. And how does that not carry over into other relationships?
Absolutely. Like, are they going to call? Are they not going to call? If they don't call, are they dead? Like, if they do call, he had 2 attempts before he took his life, and he called me during the first attempt and was just babbling, not making sense. He had like taken a bottle of pills. I just like never knew what I was going to get. It was, I was just constantly on eggshells. My nervous system was just constantly tightened and never fully like breathing easily.
How old were you for his first? Was it an attempt or almost attempt?
It was an attempt. Yeah, I'd called my mom after I'd gotten his call, and her and my stepdad at the time called 911 and drove down to his house, and the police were able to get him. They had him coming out on a stretcher, and he was alive. He was okay. Between his 2 attempts and his death was all in my 20s, from 20 to 29.
We're talking more about you than him here, but he's still your dad, obviously. Were they all through like booze and meds?
Yeah, he was addicted to heroin, and opioids, and then would drink as well. So, I mean, he did other drugs mixed in there, but ultimately, when he passed and in his note that he left, essentially he was like, I just couldn't handle the opioid struggle anymore. He had tried to get sober many times and he just couldn't do it.
So his actual cause of death was heroin overdose?
His actual cause of death was gun. He shot himself.
Have you ever, knowing all of that, but also knowing your own pain, been tempted to, or perhaps even tried heroin?
No. I am like, there is something in my stomach. And what's weird is like, I almost feel like I can spot from like a mile away, like when people are using. I mean, I memorized his, like what his eyes looked like how much he was sweating, what his words, like how he was forming them. I mean, I memorized everything. So I knew what to prepare for. No, even seeing like the show's Intervention and stuff like that, when you watch that, it is just something so gut punching to me. Because I know the pain of that struggle and how you are just locked in immediately. And that just always scared the shit out of me. I wanted nothing to do with it.
Siblings?
I do. I have a brother, an older brother. It's wild because we are very different. And I think with him being a boy and older and stuff like that, we were just affected very differently.
So 2.5 years ago, you pointed out, was that sort of a breaking point for you and your ideating? And is that essentially kind of the closest you came to ending your life?
Yes. Again, like I never had a plan, but it got to the point to where it was like, I get how my dad could do this, because people want to think like they were so loved. Like, how didn't they know how many people were there for them? And like in my head, I'm thinking like, I still just didn't even feel or see any of that. I was just like in such a deep disassociation. I didn't even feel like I was like walking the same life. I mean, there were times where I would try to like tell people like I'm in a bad place. I'm really struggling. Like girlfriends will text each other and be like, "Oh, I'm like not doing good." But like, are they not doing good because the guy they're dating, it's not going great? Are they not doing good because their mental health is in a really fucking dark place?
Yeah.
So how do you then get yourself to admit that to other people? I mean, and I was advocating for a long time, for like 12 years, on mental health and suicide awareness, yet I'm still silently battling this, not feeling brave enough to say like I actually like have these struggles too. And like I try to encourage other people like to be open and honest and talk to people, but like it took me a fucking long time for myself to even like get there.
Yeah. When you say suicide awareness, does that mean like understanding that it exists? Signs? What does that mean?
Yeah. I really tried to destigmatize it, whereas like then me living in it, I feel like is kind of a part of that. But to put out awareness of signs that somebody might be struggling, some things they might do, myths about it, promoting all the crisis hotlines. I was a part of a suicide survivor support group where it's almost like
About lost survivor.
yeah, like so people went if they've lost somebody to suicide,
Mhm.
and you sit around in a circle, kind of like an AA meeting, and you go around like, I'm Jillian, and I mean, whatever I could do, because it was like, I felt like that extra aloneness after he died, because then you're like, should I be feeling like embarrassed by telling people this is how my dad died? There just kept being like layers to it and layers to it. And then like I explained to my kids like how their grandpa passed. And then I kind of went into this whole mental spiral, which some of these things I still struggle with. Anytime anybody's mad at me, I am so scared they're just going to go in their life. Or like I am like petrified now that I have kids that are teens. What can I do? Because teenagers are so impulsive, especially boys. They're both boys. So like boys and not wanting, like feeling comfortable talking about mental health. So I'm like really trying to just like make this a comfortable conversation. But I still feel like, are they like, did I pass this down? Are they going to struggle because I struggled, because their grandpa struggled? And then I carry that guilt of, if they do, it's my fault. Like I didn't do, you know what I mean? It just like keeps cycling. My therapist once said, whenever I was telling her about these fears, she's like, at the end of the day, if somebody wants to do it, they're going to do it. And I mean, I wanted to like just throw something and walk out the room. I mean, I was pissed, but also it makes sense. I mean, I do believe like when you get to that point, like when I was saying I was so disassociated, I mean, you're in this mindset. People could tell me all day long, I'm not processing it. I'm not in that same world that they're in. I'm in this whole other realm at the time.
It's complicated, right? So 2.5 years ago, you didn't think about method?
I didn't think about method. Whenever I would think about it, it was always like I just wanted to walk into water and just drown. I did suffer from years of self-harm, which I have not done in a very long time, but that would almost be, it's like, and when you're disassociated and feeling that pain and you're self-harming, like you're still not even feeling the pain of like what you're doing. I mean, how I ended up getting help is and this is after, I mean, I really didn't want to give up on myself. And I remember just like trying, like texting people, like I said, like I'm in a bad place and stuff. And I don't know if because I hadn't always been vulnerable about my struggles, if people just honestly didn't realize how bad of a place I was in. But I had texted one of my girlfriends and asked her about KU Meds, like what does their psych look like? Because her husband worked there and then she was a nurse as well. And she called me immediately and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No." But I mean, I'm saying it just like this, like, no emotion. And she had told me, because I didn't remember much of the conversation, she had told me she knew something was wrong because I had no affect. Like there was like no emotion there. And typically when I'm talking, I'm very theatrical and stuff like that. And so she's like, "I know." And she's like, I'm going to take you. We can go tonight or tomorrow to the hospital. So I was like, tomorrow, like I was just sitting in my driveway. And so then I just like casually went in and like, honestly, it's such a blur. I was in such a fog. I don't even remember like if I told my husband like, "Hey, my friend's taking me to the hospital tomorrow," or like how I went about it. I just got up the next day, showered. She picked me up and took me to the ER. And then I was there for a while and they transported me by ambulance to their like psychiatric facility type place, which I mean, I was still so out of it. These places can be really great, but I do have a really hard time with them too. Now I've been in a variety of them because I'd visited my dad. I'd visited friends who had been in one. And then this one, and they don't separate you. So it's co-ed, like there's men, there's women, there's all different reasons why people are in there. And I was so fucking like overstimulated. I mean, the first thing they did, they're like, "Aren't you going to eat dinner?" And I'm thinking, no, I am like, how the fuck did I end up here? What is happening? And there was 2 grown men there who were actively detoxing. I couldn't take my eyes off of them. I mean, I'm just having like PTSD and I'm just like watching them. I'm knowing the pain that I'm thinking about, like, I bet they have kids. It almost like amped my anxiety so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said been in several and then they do some good. Tell me the good.
So it's so hard to get help. You can be on a wait list for a psychiatrist or whatever for so long. When you're admitted to those places, at least these ones, you're immediately set up. Like whenever I was discharged, I had a psychiatrist. I wasn't on a waiting list. I met with him. He followed up with me. He stayed with me. I felt like I had that wraparound care. So like I skipped a little bit of that waiting. Now, did I have to get to a really fucking bad spot to get there?
Yeah. So you need to be in the place to get the care after.
Correct.
So go back and tell me what's good about the place.
You're right. Nope, you're right. Putting it in that perspective.
My guess skewed towards I've had bad experiences, right? We're talking about suicide. The people who had great experiences and great therapists and didn't try to end their lives, they don't come on this podcast. So I understand that the group of people I'm talking to isn't representative of all people who go into a hospital. I've had so many people tell me how damaging and even traumatic it was. I've been in 2 of them. They're awful. So, and I'm tired of people candy coating that. You can do whatever you want, of course.
You know, I visited my dad in one, and it was after his second attempt. It was gnarly. I mean, like, they did an electric shock therapy on him there, and I don't know much about it, but I can tell you he was not right after that. That right there, like the unfriendliness and like the gathering room where I went and saw him with like his friends that he made in there, all of it was adding a whole other layer to trauma for me.
The way it affects people, in and then, I've talked a lot about this. Of course, people will say, well, then what's your solution? I'm like, oh, look, I don't have a solution to such a huge problem, but just starting off with just treating people better.
I mean, I was in, my bed was in the hallway before I got
Right.
in.
But why is that? Well, we don't have the funds or we don't have the space. Okay. No, I'm not obviously directing this at that person, but so let's just zoom out for a second and say, let's just think about how we prioritize things in our world, that you need to have somebody who's suffering that badly sleep on a fucking cot in the middle of a hallway. You wouldn't do that to your dog.
I mean, and it did at the time, like, I felt humiliated. People have to walk by, they scan your bracelet. Why are you here? And it's just like, I don't know. And it feels a little jail-like. So yeah, they strip you down of your piercings and put you in these scratchy clothes and like after you have baby underwear and take you and give you like, yeah, no, I definitely felt like I was spending the night in jail.
I have recently had a conversation with someone who was in both, and he said, trust me, jail's worse. So I'm sure jail can be much, much worse. I was in a room with a recovering heroin addict.
And
Now,
that's terrible.
I don't have the same stuff you do because I'm not triggered by that because I didn't have. However, I'm trying to fall asleep. They're having hallucinations. That's safe. That's doing really good things for my nervous system.
Well, and I did not have to share a room, but when you do have to share a room and, you see people come in like their worst sense or out of it or beaten or anything, I mean, it's not helping your mental health any.
Yeah, probably not. So 2.5 years ago, so how long do you stay in that place?
I asked to leave the afternoon the next day because I was like mentally like, I can't be here. Like I was so heightened by everything around me. It almost made me feel like this is why people don't want to speak up because they don't want to come and be here.
Yes.
Yeah. So
this is the reason this is a list. This is on a list of a not long, but not short list of the exact reasons why people don't talk about it. And so when I hear, and this is getting back to suicide awareness work that you might have been involved in, quote, just talk about it, I say, okay, hang on, hold up, be careful. And I'm the bad guy. Now, I get the premise that if someone's struggling and they have a group of people that they feel comfortable around, talking about it can be life-saving, game-changing, amazing. But just talking about it?
And I feel like, too, there's a difference when people openly talk about struggling with mental illnesses and struggling with mental health. So there's those two things, too.
There's a third thing, and it's completely different.
Okay.
One is mental health, two is mental illness. And there's another category that's completely different, and that one's called suicide. That is not treated the same.
When you were talking about, like, somebody that you had talked to and had struggled for like 30 years, like that's like the kind of, I'd be interested to talk to them and see like, so do you feel like you have a background of like mental illness, like where you're like, I'm struggling, like I have bipolar, I never feel like myself, I have schizophrenia, that's a really fucking hard way to live. Can you? Yes. But like, same thing as like any chronic illness, cancer, anytime you see anything like this, right? And then you have your mental health where, I mean, I had suffered, which I mean, I'm medicated and stuff now, but suffered from extreme panic attacks. Like I'd have to leave, I would vomit, I'd feel like I'm going to pass out. So to me, this is like more like mental health. It's not life altering. However, it was more of like the depression and the isolation and all of that ended up getting me to where I was. So I felt like if I was more comfortable talking about my mental health and like, hey, I'm struggling with these thoughts a lot sooner than what I did, then if I would have at least had somebody to hear me and listen and get me through that, Would I still ended up in the same place? There's a good chance, but at least I would have felt like I had somebody, whereas I felt so alone through all of it.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And then let's just add, and then we can move on. But and then when you finally say, okay, that's where you go, and that's the condition. So that all your energy is now, how the fuck do I get out of here within 12 or 18 hours? Which I assume you did.
I sure did.
Yeah, which not everybody gets to do. All the while, you married a man. I assume you don't marry a human being unless you care deeply for them and they understand you to some degree, let's hope, and vice versa. However, I have talked to a lot of people and they keep a lot of things secret, or quiet. So does this human being you married, I actually shouldn't assume it's a man. I'm assuming it's a man. Does he get it?
No. Now, does he get it? No, like he sees me go through it, but he does not. It was like whether his family never talked about it or showed it or anything, like me bringing all of these things in and being honest and like I'm struggling was all new to him. I met him right after my dad's second attempt, and I pretty much sat him down and was like, here's my fucked up story. And this is how I am. So like take it or leave it. And he has like where I'm like up here, I'm down here and there and there. He is very like even. He was kind of the calm. Now, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, react, you know? I mean, even now I'll be like, I am very heightened right now. Like my anxiety is out of control. I feel like I want to throw things. Like, you know, I know how to see myself progressing like in a heightened state. And then I can just like at least communicate that. So that took a lot of work for me to even start to communicate that, right? You have a partner, you're living in the house with them. You need to tell them like, I promise I'm not like insane. I deal with these things and this is what to look for. And this is how I need to calm down or whatever. You know, I go to therapy every Monday. My kids know that. It's like on the calendar, like, see you all later. I'm going to work out my trauma, you know, be back in an hour.
And yeah, I mean, you're raising two kids together.
Yes.
And cohabitating, which by the way, man, how do people do that?
I mean, I don't know.
Pretty incredible. It really is. It really is. I'm single and I'm not good at relationships and just like, because part of it is you just get used to it. But also I think part of it's just like, I was never really meant to like regularly cohabitate. I think it's not unnatural, but certainly really hard. You go sleep in that bedroom, please. I need space.
I mean, yeah, I don't think you'll meet anybody that says it's easy. And if they say it's easy, they're lying.
Maybe I need liars in my life.
I mean, maybe.
2.5 years ago, that happens. You get out of the hospital. Since then, have the ideations lessened or softened?
Yes. I quit drinking. I got sober. I've been sober for 2 years.
Nice.
I knew that I needed 100% clarity. Like you can't control all the things, but if I could at least have some clarity and not try to cover up or hide from my life or how I'm feeling, then I'm just able to, for myself, handle it a lot healthier. And I've been in therapy every week. I mean, I go every week. Sometimes she lets me text her if I'm having a meltdown. I mean, I've rage text her, I've whatever, you know, like it's because therapy is not fucking easy either. And sometimes they bring up things and make you mad. But I am a firm believer in finding the right one because there's a lot of shitty ones out there and ones that'll make you feel worse. So it's worth fighting for the right one. And then with my psychiatrist, I got on like a proper mix of things to help with like my panic and my depression and stuff. And even that took a while. So I think a lot of times when people want to try medication and they're like, I still feel like this, nothing helps, it's hopeless. You just have to find what works. And when you're that exhausted, it's hard to think about keep trying because you just better.
Have you lost other people to suicide?
I have not personally, but like since my dad, it's like I've had a friend lose a brother, a friend lose a sister, a friend, you know, like I feel like I just keep hearing about it. And honestly, it doesn't get easier. Anytime I hear about it, I'm definitely immediately triggered. And it's like I feel it all from knowing what it's like to feel so exhausted and so separated and just disconnected to also being able to relate the amount of pain that they're getting ready to carry for the rest of their lives, as well as, you know, losing somebody like that.
Yep. Now, people don't talk about suicide very much. You are, and I appreciate that. But you have a husband, you have 2 sons. It sounds like you have some friends. How many people know we're talking right now?
A lot of them. I mean, I didn't tell my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I told them I was coming to do a podcast. I didn't say what, but I would have. I have already started having the suicide conversation with them. And it's because it's more and more common. There was, unfortunately in the schools, there's a lot of high school students, that's like on the rise. And so taking their lives. And so then they'll hear about it. That was somebody's sibling or sibling's boyfriend or friend. And I don't want them to learn about it through a group chat emojis. I want them to learn about it properly because it's complex. But nope, my mom knows, my friends know. I didn't like boast about it, but if people are like, what are you doing today? I was like, I'm doing the Suicide Noted like podcast. Like I'm going to go talk about it. And
yes, use the name. I like that you said Suicide Noted, not just a podcast. That's branding. I got to get out there, Jillian.
yeah, I told them all, yes. And even like the different ways that it's talked about are like, how you're kind of opening the conversation to look at things differently and stuff. It's important to look at it from all the ways and all the things. There is no one way and there's no right or wrong way. It's just the fact that we're talking about it and we're talking about lack thereof properly handling it per the psych wards and things that we've talked about and how we really don't know how anybody could do it better because I don't know. I don't think that there's an ultimate answer. I don't know, which also adds a whole other layer of like grieving and sadness around this,
Yeah, that's the only thing I think about is how can we help people, myself included, better understand and engage with people who are struggling, even if it's not the S word doesn't come up, because we suck at that too.
And like you were saying, like, I don't believe you should just be like, don't do it because you tell somebody to calm down, they're not going to calm down. However, I think there are people that are able to just sit with people in that moment. Can you just train somebody to do that? I don't think so. I mean,
I don't know either, right? Like, can you cultivate curiosity? I don't know.
And just genuine empathy, not I'm going to get you calmed down so I can do this.
Right. This is the kind of thing I hear on like a big a speech or a presentation. I'm like, you're full of shit. Oh yeah, just XYZ, meaning like, yeah, just be curious and be empathetic. It's like, but can they be that? I mean, it sounds great from your stage, but like, really? However, there's one thing someone can do. Almost always, not always. 98% of people. Most people can actually stop talking and let somebody else talk.
There's something behind truly not listening, but hearing when people are in that state and like truly hearing them, truly seeing them by just being present. Like I feel like if somebody were to look at me, truly have looked at me, they would have known how bad of a place I was in versus like just seeing me. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense. The thing is that when we're not talking, we don't know what we're actually doing. You cannot be talking and not listening. You cannot be talking and however we're defining listening and hearing. The problem I have experienced is that create the space, let them talk. If it's a vent, it's a vent, and maybe you don't need to say a word, but usually there is some kind of conversation that ensues. And the moment this person opens their mouth, that's where the fixing comes in, or the comparing, or the invalidating. So that's where it gets hard, is how do you actually help people understand it without just throwing out a stupid fucking acronym you learned in a book about how do you actually engage with someone so they feel a little better or not worse? What is it like to ask a question that's really based on curiosity or clarifying? I don't know what you mean by depression. What does that mean for you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that doable for everyone? Probably not, but it's doable for more than are doing it.
Correct. I mean, it's all about the execution of it and how you say things, just like it is with anything else. I think this is such a hard topic for people. Like, it makes so many others. I'm very comfortable with it. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable. So they feel like they have to put it in like a textbook style. If you do this, this, and this. I mean, you could teach anybody XYZ, and are they going to execute it properly or with empathy or heart? Not all the people.
That's why I appreciate the acronyms, but it's like communication is a little more nuanced than that. So I can get away with breaking those rules sometimes and it still, quote, works. Others can do it by the book and it doesn't connect because we're not robots.
Yes.
But I think that the discomfort you describe is getting more and more, what's the word, is getting more common. people's discomfort. And if you want a weird comment that I'm going to say, your discomfort in my pain is a reason people kill themselves, full stop.
Absolutely. And I think people see, I ended up feeling once it all came to light, I felt very supported. I feel lucky. Not all people are like that. I think when people are like, there's something wrong with you, or like maybe their work acts different. If they're honest, I'm struggling, I'm getting help, and their work's like, does this make them unreliable? Is this going to affect them? Oh, should they have their kids? Are they even going to be able to make a good decision, like as a parent? And then it's like, you guys are adding to the problem, but everybody wants to talk about like, oh, we're aware and we promote mental health. And it's like, you sure as fuck don't, because that's not the proper like follow through. Like people still, and I don't know if we'll ever get past it, but still want to put image above everything else. And until we can get past that, I mean, I don't know if everybody, like if people will ever be truly comfortable, opening up.
I mean, it's complicated.
It is.
Is there ever a day that goes by that you wish you had not been alive?
No.
Never.
No. I think I've endured, and I think there's been times that I didn't want to feel, and I wanted that feeling to be over. I didn't want to feel like that again. Are there days that I wish I could just numb myself or sleep? I mean, since being a kid, one of my biggest coping mechanisms is like sleeping. If it's like, if I don't feel safe, if like I just need to go to sleep and I'm not going to feel anything, and then I'm going to wake up and it's all going to be better, right? I mean, it's not, but that's like what I tell myself. But is there a day that I wake up and say, I wish I was dead? I'm fortunate enough to say, no, I don't feel like that. Do I struggle with battling of feeling like I can't go on feeling a certain way? Yes.
What were your diagnoses that you've gotten that you actually think are correct or valid?
I mean, I have anxiety and panic disorder. Now, when I first came out of the hospital, it was thought that I might have borderline personality. Since that's been ruled out. And honestly, I think I just had a fuck ton of unprocessed trauma that was just coming out at any way that it could, because I hadn't allowed it to come out. I mean, I look back and I don't know, like to look back, and even I never even thought that like I was like a big partier or whatever. And I still want to say, like, I never had been tempted to drink again. Once I was like, I'm going to get better and I'm going to do whatever I have to not feel like that again, I haven't looked back. It's been hard, but I haven't looked back. And so I've never craved like a drink or anything. Now, do I crave just wishing I could be like free feeling like that? Sure. But I really appreciate where I am and the hard work that I've put into it. And I'm hoping that I can take that and keep having these hard conversations that make people uncomfortable and keep trying to do something. I mean, because that's really all we can do, right? I mean, I don't know if there's a solution at the end of the day, but I think we can make people uncomfortable and we can talk about it and we can challenge their thoughts on these things that maybe people don't want to challenge your thought on what a psych ward or a crisis line. Maybe they, that's where they shut down. But like I said, if you're not looking at it from all these point of views, I mean, what are you doing? There's not one box that this like fits in.
You know that I have you don't know this about me, probably. Why would you, though? I have an ongoing thing here. It's a kind of a gift, some say, of helping people create memoir titles. It's a service I offer my guests. That is that I help them with their memoir title.
Well, I'm writing a memoir and
Hang on. No.
I have a title.
Hang on. I just need you to know something.
What?
One, most people don't write the book. We agree on a title. But you are writing the book.
I am writing, and it's pretty damn good.
Okay. You're saying don't give anything away right now. This is like might be the best part of my week. So please don't fuck it up.
Okay, I'm sweating a little bit though.
Just tell me this. When did you start? Do not give me the title. When did you start writing the book?
Probably a year ago, last July or August.
Why?
Because I realized the hard work of overcoming it. And I think I started facing a lot of my traumas. A lot of the things that I would have been like, oh, that's just normal because it was normal in my life. You start going to therapy and you realize, wow, that was pretty fucked up. Like that shouldn't have happened. And honestly, like I'm a big memoir fan. I think through my times, I've read other people's stories of resiliency and overcoming. And that gave me something of being like, damn, look what they came through and they're doing something with it. Like other people's choices, how it affected me, all of that, like that's no more. I am making these choices from here on out, and this is what I'm going to do with it.
What's your timeline for getting it done?
Oh, that's funny because I've had 500. I don't know. I'm actually getting ready. I have a story coach and I'm turning in there's 3 parts and I'm turning in part 1 in a week and a half. So,
Writing coach. Is this coach also helping you with the title?
no, she doesn't actually. She just gives me like notes, or if I feel stuck, she kind of helps me overcome it and that sort of thing. But no.
Well, now I need to know about the title, but I really want to do this cautiously. So, because it's such a big deal to me, you have no idea. So, you came up with this on your own.
Yeah.
And did anybody push back?
As far as like, why are you doing this or what?
No, like titles matter if you want to sell it.
Oh, nobody's like said that they don't like it.
I'm not going to say I don't like it. I'm just wanting to love it. And then before you finally tell me, I know I'm building this up a lot. Is there a title and subtitle or just a title?
It's just a title. And there's a reason behind the title.
Well, I'm going to ask about it.
Okay.
Then what do you want to give me, the reason or the title first?
Well, I thought you were going to tell me what the title is.
I'm not guessing your title. Normally, people aren't writing memoirs. And then we talk for a while, and I'm like, you know what would be a good potential memoir title for you? And they'll be like,
what would be mine? Tell me what mine would be.
That's the thing is I didn't get there with you. I mean, the only thing you said that caught me as a potentially interesting memoir title, but I can tell that it's a completely different angle. It's just there was something about you saying, "Here's my fucked up stuff," that I thought that's an interesting thing. Here's my fucked up stuff. That's catchy. But I can just tell, Jillian, yours is going to be more positive.
Well, I mean, I don't have that like East Coast like, you know. Yes, it's going to be a little bit of the Midwest girl kind of thing.
I think okay.
It's called The Road to Wildflowers.
Oh, the road.
And do you want to hear the backstory?
Yeah, I know. Well, let me break down each word first, then I want to hear the backstory.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I like. I like the road more than journey.
Okay.
As a word.
Mm-hmm.
For a couple of reasons. One, I like one syllable, and I think journeys are used a lot.
It is.
Road to wild flowers, plural. You see how much I just really...
I feel like you're about to think about this more than I did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like wild flowers makes me curious, which is important. It obviously has some personal meaning to you. No subtitle. That's an interesting choice. And then it's just going to be like a memoir by Jillian H.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
How have you been working on this for a year and you haven't figured this shit out? What are you actually doing?
I'm writing it, but I'm not like overthinking. Like the title came to me and I'm one of those people, like it felt right. And I was like, yes, this is it. And I went on.
And tell me why that title is the title.
Oh, okay. So, especially whenever I was young and like at my dad's house, and a lot of the things I tried to hide from or disassociate from, like the abuse or whatever, things that were happening over there, I had like this world, I guess you would call it, of like wildflowers where like I would close my eyes. Like when I was saying like a coping mechanism was to like try to go to sleep or nap. So close my eyes and I picture this just like peaceful, like pasture of wildflowers and quiet and calm and the sun and just feeling free. I never got to feel free. I was always on eggshells, right? I was always tense. And this is a place where it's just like silent other than nature. It's calm. It was just always this place that I imagined being. And these like wildflowers are just like this beautiful part of nature. You know, they grow in parts that people don't want them to grow, or they show up beautifully without, I don't know how to explain it. And like the road there is essentially saying, I'm going to take this place that used to save me and I'm going to make it my reality. I deserve to live in a place that I feel calm and safe.
Yeah. Man, I want an advanced copy. Hook me up. I got more and more authors. It's weird.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I talk to, I mean, you're not the most common. Most people are like, I want to find a podcast on suicide. I go to Spotify or Apple. This podcast came up. I listened for a little bit. This guy seems okay. I reach out. We talk. That's the most, 90%. you know?
Well, I'm glad I'm not in the 90%. That's my goal in life, is to not fall into any sort of 90% of people.
Right. A few more questions. You ready?
Mhm.
If you were ideating, and that is a possibility that could come up again, but whether you were ideating, having a really shitty day, struggling really hard, even contemplating taking your own life, how many people do you have, and this could include your therapist or psychiatrist, where you could have an entirely and completely 100% transparent conversation with them and it be okay?
That's a really good question. I think you bringing up the point of knowing what happens next whenever, like what people legally have to do when they say something, definitely makes you hesitate. People's overreactions, people just wanting to like immediately, not stay calm, not just hear you. So I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. Do I have friends that I feel like more like after the fact, I'd be like, damn, Saturday, I was in a really hard place. But like while I was in that moment, I don't know.
What is one thing, and it seems like you're doing pretty good, all things considered, compared to the past. What's one thing that really helps you? I was going to try to connect it to the wildflowers, but it's not work. Just brings you joy.
So this is interesting. I'm actually like, in therapy, they really try to connect you to these emotions. And she's like, you are so disconnected from emotions, because she'll say like, does that make you this or this? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that feels like. And I'm really like, it's been a lot of work to identify what makes me feel joy.
Mm.
Like I can say like, yeah, like that's nice, like, but like to me, like joy is some big, I think I feel my most accepted and at peace whenever I'm having these conversations, that I feel like I'm not being judged, where I can truly just be myself. I mean, I'm kind of weird. I'm kind of quirky. I have a past. Like, so to find somewhere where I fit, and if I have a few pretty damn good friends that like if I'm with them and we're just having a good time and I can be myself, that's when I feel the most joy. But I'm creative. Like if I'm painting, if I'm writing, if I feel like I'm expressing, because that's like when I really truly feel like I am who I am.
Now, because you mentioned the thing about emotions, I have three more quick emotions I want to ask. What are you most scared of?
Very, very layered. You hear people say this, but like I feel this like to my core. I am most scared of not truly. I lived a lot of my life in this narrative and letting my coping mechanisms and stuff like that be like my personality traits, if that makes sense. So now I'm like coming into like who I really am, and I'm scared of like what if I died in a car accident tomorrow and like I didn't fully truly get to live my own narrative. Like as I'm like growing and trying to like overcome, I want to keep having these conversations. Like I want to leave some sort of imprint and help make some sort of difference. And like I don't know what that looks like. And I mean, it sounds cheesy, and maybe every mom feels like this, but like I'm so scared of like letting my kids down. Like I don't want that cycle of me coming from what I came from and me battling the battles that I have to affect my children. Like I just want them to be able to experience that emotional intelligence and connection and feel seen and heard. And I just like, I don't know. I want them to not suffer from me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so a question I don't think I've ever asked, and that is, how often do you cry?
So yes, and that's actually something I struggle with, is like sometimes feeling that need, like you feel it in your chest, like I need to cry. Like I feel like I just need a good cry. I could cry right now, but it ain't happening. Like it's not coming out. I mean, I'm definitely had wired my brain to just perform and to be on and to, and so it's definitely a work in progress. Like, I feel like my therapist, like, if I'm crying in session, she's probably secretly like, hell yes,
That was actually my goal, but I didn't get there.
No,
Uh,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised I didn't. But I mean, I'm proud of myself.
I think you're doing great. I mean, I'm not really judging it. I just think I appreciate your honesty. We've talked about a lot of things in that conversation. There's myths and misconceptions that come up. For example, what a psych unit might be like. Is there anything else though around any of this stuff that you really want to call bullshit on?
I think I kind of touched on it earlier, but how places of employment, or not even that, any like certain associations or anything like that, really like the thought of saying that they are supportive of mental health and that they want to do all these things to help and be proactive. And I call bullshit on the actual follow through and how they treat people when they're honest about struggling.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, mental health matters. But then like somebody needs to call out sick or somebody's having a hard time getting out of bed and it affects you. Mental health doesn't matter then because it's affecting you.
As part of the Suicide Noted Facebook page with the algorithm, I get all these different things from mental health associations and blah, blah, blah. And social media is kind of made for little blurbs and memes and all that, Yeah, you see a lot of that. And I'm just like, don't comment, Sean. Especially when it's suicide noted. I'm like, don't do it. Do it.
I do have like an Instagram, like a mental health awareness, and I talk about all sorts of things on there. But I like to educate about like the different mental illnesses. I like to talk about the myths of suicide or like things to look for, or like if you're, there's a lot of things that drive me nuts. I have big opinions. I mean, I again, another podcast, but I could go on and on about youth athletes and what that does to a kid and leads to potential suicide. I can go on about, a lot of different things, again, where people say that they want to make a difference or make it better, and they don't because they want a certain outcome, if that makes sense.
No, it 100% makes sense. Yes.
So I get pretty fired up about stuff. But anyway, I do try to raise awareness. They want to blame kids and social media and stuff. But all these adults, like, we're just as guilty. You can't say it's a different world for teens because they're sucked into this and this, because as adults, you are too. I don't know. I think there's just like a lot of pointing other directions, and I don't like that. I do think it's important. People want to do all these things, like talk about it and make it like we're making this positive difference. But a part of having the hard conversation isn't just like saying the uncomfortable word suicide. It's really challenging all the things, like to look into all the things that go along with it. And all those things make people uncomfortable too. So there's just so many layers to it.
I have a pill. It is not real. It happens to be colored pink and purple. You take this pill, Jillian, you go to sleep. There's no pain and you don't wake up. And nobody knows it's a suicide. What would you do with the pill?
Let me ask you, what do you think I'm going to say?
Well, I'm 100% sure you're not going to take it right now. You either throw it out somewhere or you save it.
I think I would flush it. I lived enough in that world of wildflowers, of sleeping through it. And I seriously am so determined. Like, I really think that getting the life you want is like worth fighting for. We're only here for so long, and I want to feel good, and I am going to get there. Like, I've done such hard work. I want it, and I'm not going to like slow down until I get there, and I'm not going to take a pill to get there quicker.
Fair. Did we cover everything? Did we leave anything out?
I guess I didn't mention either. I'm graduating with school counseling, licensed professional counselor. I put myself through school starting at like 37, leaving a career of being a hairstylist. I honestly wanted just to keep educating myself on it. I feel like that helps me really get even more curious. There's so much to be curious about, and there's so many layers, and nobody's going to ever give you the same answer.
When are you starting?
Well, see, the crazy thing is, I don't think I want to be in school counseling or an actual therapist. I just think I want to use all the knowledge to hopefully bring mental health support to youth in schools, because I feel like that's the best way to help kids in general, to like meet them where they're at. They're there a lot of the time. The athletes, the this and that. I think being able to come from both backgrounds, I'll just have a little bit more support behind me. People will listen to me a little bit more than just lived experience.
If I had one more question, it would be, what would you do if I came into your hair salon? But I'm not going to ask. What else would you like to add before we get back to our days?
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything.
Well, thanks for talking.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks again. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. Special thanks to Jillian in Kansas. Thanks, Jillian. who, by the way, I will be seeing in about a week in Kansas City for the tour. If you are a suicide attempt survivor or near attempt survivor, ideator, and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. You can find us on all the socials. And of course, if you would like to take a minute and check out our poll on Spotify or rate or review this on Apple, I would really appreciate that. And of course, you can make a tax-deductible donation. You can find the link all over the place. It's givebutter.com/suicide noted. Thank you so much. And that is all for this week's episode. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you soon.